So, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Hope that everyone in your life is doing well. If you've been afflicted, as some of us have been recently with some illness, that you're on your way to healing and that we are finding our way, taking walks again, meeting each other again, finding each other again, going to shul again, getting ready for the Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur season, which is coming so soon. We're in the month of Elul, which tells us that we're less than a month away. This is a parsha that makes some really, really significant points, and we've spoken about a lot already this week, but let me point out one additional thing. The very opening section of Parshat Shoftim talks about not taking bribes so that our eyes continue to see clearly that all of us created in the image of God deserve tzedek, righteousness, justice. And in fact, one of the translations of the most famous verse in the Torah, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, which is usually translated, justice, justice shall you pursue, is actually translated by Everett Fox. I have a translation up on my other screen. Equity, equity you are to pursue. Someone yesterday, while I was learning with them, asked me how I would translate tzedek. And so it's important to hear the word tzedek, to know it's the same word as tzedakah. And for some of us, we know the word tzaddik or tzedekis, which means righteous person. That's how it's used, a holy person. Tzedakah is a tzedakah box, that's how we usually think about it, or giving. But there's a big difference between the usual translation for the word tzedakah and this word equity, which Everett Fox uses. I want to explore that just for a second. A tzedakah box is a place where many of us, before we light Shabbat candles, place some tzedakah. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a beautiful ritual to have. It is just as important, though it's not the same kind of mitzvah, as lighting candles. Because in that moment where I light the candles and I let Shabbos in, I recognize that actually nourishing the world, taking care of the world, is a responsibility. I'm blessed to have Shabbos, to be able to light these candles. But Shabbos isn't contained in the candles, nor is Shabbos some ethereal thing that will take care of me. I need to take actions. Tzedakah is not what we usually translate it as, which is charity. Charity, as we've spoken about earlier this week, comes from a Latin word caritas, which means to care about someone. It's giving when your heart is moved. But tzedakah is not that. Tzedakah is tzedek. It's justice. What's the big difference? The big difference is I am obligated to give tzedakah. It's not when I feel like it. It's not a nice thing to do. It's an obligatory act. It's something that in a Jewish framework is just as important as fasting on Yom Kippur. It's just as important as saying the motzi. Be acting in a righteous way, being a tzaddik or a tzedekis doesn't mean being superhuman. It means recognizing that my basic obligation, if I truly do love my neighbor as myself, is to pursue tzedek, tzedek tirdof, equity, equity shall you pursue. What does tzedakah mean in the biblical context, in a modern Jewish context too? It means distributing wealth so that everyone has what they need. In American context, our political discourse, air quotes for the word discourse. In our context, if you say the redistribution of wealth, it sounds like a pejorative. You believe in socialism, and therefore you don't believe in the capitalistic system or democracy. What's really important is that those are modern words. And socialism at its best, at its purest, which has yet to be experienced anywhere in the world, perhaps the closest we ever came to seeing socialism work healthily were the early heydays of the kibbutz movement in Israel. But socialism at its best is when everyone has what they need. And democracy at its best is when every citizen's requirements are matched by their rights. Everyone should be taken care of. We have the responsibility to take care of each other. Capitalism at its purest is actually not that. Capitalism presumes that some will succeed and some will not, and that is okay. But there need to be balances to the market. We see growing inequity in society, and issue by issue, if you look at it, the way that the most vulnerable members of society are affected by pandemics, gun violence, mental illness, domestic violence, poverty, you name it. The disproportionate effect of those diseases, societal diseases, the disproportionate effect on the most vulnerable of our populations, tells us that we haven't truly understood what tzedek means, equity, nor have we understood what tirdof means, which is pursue it. Even if we achieve a victory towards justice, towards equity, where more people will have what they need, the Torah doesn't say tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, and then you're fine. The Torah says tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. It is an always imperative, because there will always be someone, unfortunately, in this world who requires not care, but justice, requires equity. The work of UJA Federation New York, where I am so privileged to serve, and we are meeting in that context right now on the UJA Facebook page, is so much about this work. Reese is pointing out something incredibly urgent for us to know. She writes, our food pantries here in Broward County, South Florida, are running dry. First of all, anyone in Florida, act on that. Don't hear it and say, oh, that's terrible, and then change the station, or think that our Torah lesson was the point. The point of a Torah lesson is to make sure that no one goes hungry. And the big difference between the Band-Aid on society that some of our social action is, and justice for society, which the Torah is calling us to do, is the difference between food pantries and food insecurity. Food pantries help hungry people right now. Food insecurity is a systemic issue that we must face. If we are to truly pursue equity, we will recognize that until we deal with the underlying issue of food insecurity, which probably has to do with the distribution of wealth, the allocation of resources, the recognition that the government has more buying power to provide food for the hungry than any of the food barrels that we place extra pasta or tuna cans into. We have to be present, friends, in a way that I know our teacher Risa is guiding us to, that she is leading her community as a fellow clergy member. But all of us have to recognize that the core command of the Torah is to pursue equity, not to make things better only right now, which is a mitzvah, but to make them better for the long term, for as many people as we can, and then to do it again and more. In fact, this is my closing point. The verse that we have, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, doesn't end after 3 words. Listen to the whole verse translated into English by Everett Fox. Equity, equity you are to pursue in order that you may live and possess the land that Adonai your God is giving you. What does that mean? It means that the promised land, which is what Moses has been talking about, this whole book, is not a place that we will be in and have no needs. As Susanna Heschel, Dr. Susanna Heschel, teaches in boiling her father's teachings down into an essence, she says, the land of Israel is not inherently holy. It is the testing ground upon which we will be seen as holy or not. It's a testing ground for us. And so it is important for us to recognize, as David just said, that justice and equity are processes. So friends, I'm asking you in a deep way right now, what will you do to pursue justice today? And if you are truly in pursuit of it, if you are going to be rodef, in the best of ways, a chaser of equity, which means working for justice on behalf of others, what will you do today and tomorrow and the day after? I'm not asking you to do everything. I'm asking us to think about one thing we can do today, tomorrow, and the day after that will increase equity for our neighbors. That will manifest the verse that we have in our parsha, equity, equity you shall pursue, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, and will be the actual fulfillment of loving our neighbors as ourselves. So bless you, friends. This is an anchor for our day that we have. We learn together every day. An anchor allows us to move safely in the world. So let's continue being each other's anchors, and let's encourage each other to go do more for the world, more than we have, because because there's more need than there was. And we've got more strength than we knew. Here we go. Let's take a breath, sing our way into a good day. Bless you, friends. See you tomorrow.